We continue now at the top of Daf Dalet Amud Aleph and Mesechet Shekalim. This is Shekalim Daf 4a. The Mishnah on the previous Amud made a distinction between individuals who have a genuine chiv and machatzis hashekel, we're even memashkin them, we force collection from them, and then other individuals who don't have such a level of chiv. And so the Mishnah continues along similar lines. V'elu shechayavin bekalbon. The following people are chayav to give the kalbon. The kalbon was when you gave machatzis hashekel, you were supposed to give a little bit extra just in case your machatzis hashekel was a little smaller than it was supposed to be. So those people are Leviim, Yisraelim, V'gerim, V'avadim. Leviim, Yisraelim, Gerim, and Avadim, Mishuchrorim, Avadim who are freed. All of those individuals are chayav to give the kalbon. They have a genuine chiyav in machatzis hashekel. Avolo kohanim v'noshim v'avadim u'ketanim. But when it comes to kohanim, noshim, avadim, and ketanim, their chiyav is not the same level. They're not chayav to give the kalbon. Hashokel al yedei kohen, al yedei oish, al yedei eved, al yedei katan, potter. Similarly, let's say a person gives a machatzis hashekel on behalf of a kohen, on behalf of a woman, on behalf of an eved, on behalf of a katan, all those cases as well, potter from kalbon. V'im shakal al yodo v'al yedei chaveiro. Now let's say a person gives a full shekel on behalf of himself and his friend. So he's giving 1 shekel, half of it's supposed to be for him, half of it's supposed to be for his friend. Chayiv bekalbon echad. According to the Tanakama, only chayiv to give 1 kalbon. Even though normally you give a machas a shekel, each one needs its own kalbon. But here you gave 1 shekel for 2 people, you just have to give 1 kalbon. For Rabbi Meir Omer beis kolbonos. And Rabbi Meir says, no, the chiyuv is you have to give 2 kolbonos. The Gemara is going to explain, according to Rabbi Meir, the chiyuv of kalbon is doraisa. Hanosein sela v'notel shekel. Let's say a person gives to the Beis HaMikdash a sela. Now a sela was basically 2 machatzis hashekel, and then he's taking change of a shekel. Now they call it a shekel here, it really means a machas hashekel. The idea is that a shekel of chol is the same thing as a machatzis hashekel of kodesh. So when it says notel shekel, it means you take change of a machatzis hashekel of kodesh. So you're given a full shekel of kodesh, a sela, and you're taking back a machatzis hashekel, you're taking change. Chayiv shnei kolbonos. So in that case, you're chayiv to give 2 kalbons, and that's going to be explained in the Gemara. Hashokel al yad oni ve'al yad shecheno ve'al yad ben iro potter. Let's say a person gives the machatzis hashekel on behalf of an oni, on behalf of his neighbor, on behalf of someone in the city, and the idea here, he's not lending them, he's actually giving it, it's like a matana, he's doing it on their behalf. In that case, you don't have to give kalbon. However, vim hilvon chayiv, but let's say he does it as a loan, so he's giving machatzis hashekel on their behalf, but they're going to pay him back, so then they're really giving their own machatzis hashekel, so then there's a chayiv of kalbon. Ha'achin ha'shutvin. Now let's say you have brothers who are partners, shechayavin bekalbon. If it's a situation where they're chayiv in kalbon, so then peturin mi ma'aser behema. Then they're pater from ma'aser behema. Now what that means is, when brothers initially inherit from their father, all the property is really still hasn't been divided yet, so it really is considered almost like their father's property. But when they then divide the property, let's say they divide the property and then they re-partner up. So then they're basically like regular, normal partners. That's what it means here. Ha'achin ha'shutvin shechayavin bekalbon. Achin ha'shutvin are brothers who they've already divided the property fully, and then they've become partners again. So there they're treated like regular partners. They're going to be chayav and kalbon. And also, additionally, petur mi ma'aser behema. In such a situation, they're actually going to be pater from ma'aser behema because partners are pater from ma'aser behema. But let's say you have a situation where they're chayiv in ma'aser behema, meaning they have not divided up the property yet. It's really still like the father's property in that case. They've inherited the property, but they haven't divided. So it's really as if they're in control of their father's property. So that's chayiv in ma'aser behema. But also petur min kalbon. In that case, they're also going to be pater from kalbon because it's technically as if the father is giving on their behalf. And the Mishnah finishes off, V'kamahu kalbon, how much is the kalbon? Ma'a kesef divrei Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, it's a silver ma'a. V'chachamim omrim chatzi ma'a. And the chachamim say it's a half a ma'a. And the Gemara says, Afal pi shamru v'chulu, this is going on our Mishnah. The Mishnah said, even though we're not memashkin ketanim, but if they give machatzis hashekel, we'll accept it from them. So the Gemara says, Halitzvo ein tovin, but we don't claim the machatzis hashekel from them, meaning there's no obligation. If they give it, we'll accept it, but there's no obligation. So the Gemara says, Hachat damar tovin. In the previous Mishnah, you said we do claim it from them. There is an obligation on ketanim. V'hachat damar ein tovin. And over here in our Mishnah, you're saying there's no obligation. We don't make a claim. Everyone agrees we're not memashkin. We certainly don't force collection, but there's a contradiction in terms of whether there's a chiyuv at all. So the Gemara answers, Kan b'shehevi beisaris, v'kan b'shalohevi beisaris. It depends. In a situation where the katan really is an adult, technically, the katan has beisaris already bar mitzvah, so from the age of bar mitzvah until the age of 20, there is a chiyuv midrabanan. We're not going to be mamashkin, but we are going to be toveya. There's a chiyuv midrabanan. But in a situation where it's lo heavy beisaris, meaning it's a real katan, a real minor, so in that case there's not even an obligation on a drabanan level. If they give, then we'll accept it from them, but we're not tovei at all. And the Gemara continues quoting the Mishnah, Hanochri v'hakusi v'chulu. The Mishnah said that if a non-Jew or if a kusi, if they give machatzis hashekel, we do not accept it from them. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Bo says, Tifter command Amar kusi kenachri. It seems that this Mishnah is following the opinion that a kusi is like a nachri. There's a machlokas all through Shas, whether kusim are gerei emesein, were they true converts, are they considered Jewish, or are they considered what we call gerei arayas. There's a study in the Navi where they only converted because they were scared of the lions. That's a story in Sefer Malachim. So then they wouldn't be considered like gerim. They would be considered like nachrim. So it seems like our Mishnah considers them like nachrim, and that's why when they give the machatzis hashekel, we can't accept it from them. This palgan, because the Gemara says there's a machlokas about this. Kusi kanachri divrei Rebbe. According to Rebbe, a kusi is like a nachri. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer kusi kisrael l'chol davar. And Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says no, a kusi is like a Jew for everything, like a regular ger, like a regular convert. Amar Rabbi Lazar, so Rabbi Lazar answers no, masnisin benachrim. Our Mishnah really is only talking about non-Jews. Basically, the Gemara seems to be answering, take out the word kusi. We're saying that if a non-Jew gives a machatzis hashekel, we don't accept it. We're not saying anything about kusim. And the Gemara says, kusim lo. By kusim, we're not saying that, meaning by kusim, if they give a machatzis hashekel, we would accept it. Betani chen, we have a brisa that supports this, talking specifically about karbanos. It says adam. It says, when it talks about karbanos, it says adam ki yakriv mikem. If a person brings karbanos from you, so what is adam? L'ravos hasagerim. That comes to include even the converts. So meaning in this case as well, kusim, who would be considered gerei emes, would be considered converts, would be able to give the machatzis hashekel. And mikem lahotzias hamumrim. The word mikem means that you're allowed to give a carbon, but not if you're a mummer, not if you're somebody who rebels against the Torah. Such even a person who's Jewish, who's a mummer, is not going to be able to bring a carbon. But the Gemara says still doesn't really fit with the Mishnah. Because Masnisin Pligi al Rebbe Lazar, if you look at the Mishnah, at the end of the Mishnah, it seems to argue with Rebbe Lazar because it clearly is talking about Kusim. Because what does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says, Ein mekavlin miyadam kine zavin v'zavos kine yoldos. It says that when it comes to, it seems to be talking about either Kusim or Nachrim, but it says you're not allowed to accept from them the karbanos of Zavin, Zavos, and Yoldos. These are all different kinds of Tumah. But the problem is, V'chiyesh kine Zavin v'Zavos b'Nachrim. If that last line is talking about non-Jews, there is no Tumah of Zavin, Zavah by Nachrim. There are no kine Zavin v'Zavos. So what would it mean that we don't accept kine Zavin and Zavos from Nachrim? That wouldn't make any sense. So what's going on over here? Ela Reisha benachrim v'seifa bekusim. But then what are you going to answer? You're going to say that the Reisha of the Mishnah is talking about non-Jews, and suddenly at the end of the Mishnah it's talking about kusim? And the Gemara says, no, that's correct. Kainu, that's exactly what's going on. Reisha benachrim, the beginning of the Mishnah is talking about non-Jews. That's where it's saying you cannot accept machatzis hashekel from nachrim. V'seifa bekusim. And then at the end of the Mishnah, we move to talk about kusim because there we're talking about zavin and zavos, and kine zavin and zavos will not apply to non-Jews. That's something that would be specific to kusim. The Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, B'tchila in the beginning, meaning when they were originally building the Beis HaMikdash, ein mekavlim mehem lo davar mesuyim v'lo davar she'ena mesuyim. We did not accept from non-Jews, let's say they had a donation for Bedek Habayis, meaning they made a donation to help build the Beis HaMikdash. We did not accept for them something specific that would actually go into the actual building, or even just a donation that was a general donation. You wouldn't actually be able to see the object as part of the building of the Beis HaMikdash. We would not accept any donations. And the reason for that is we didn't want them to be involved in the building of the Beis HaMikdash because we actually thought they would slow down the process. Uvesof. But at the end, once the Beis HaMikdash was already built, so there's no issue that they're going to try to somehow hold up the process, delay the process of building the Beis HaMikdash. It's already built. So now you're just taking donations to fix things, things along those lines. So then, Mekavlin mehen davar she'ena mesuyim. If they make a donation, that's not a specific thing that you can't point to it and say this part of the Binyan Beis HaMikdash was donated by a non-Jew, that we'd accept. However, vein mekavlin mehen davar mesuyim. But still, even at the time after the Beis HaMikdash is already built, we're not going to accept the davar mesuyim because it's degrading that we're going to say, oh, this particular item was donated by somebody who was a nachri. Rav Shimon Lakish says, no, it doesn't matter. Bein b'tchila, bein b'sof. It doesn't matter if it was in the beginning of the building of the Beis HaMikdash or at the end after it was already built. Ein mekavlin mehen, we don't accept anything from them. Lo davar mesuyim, v'lo davar she'ena mesuyim. It doesn't matter if it's mesuyim. It doesn't matter if it's not mesuyim. And so now the Gemara asks on Rabbi Yochanan, Masnisa pligi out Rabbi Yochanan. The following brisa argues on Rabbi Yochanan. Again, Rabbi Yochanan held that we do accept donations from Nachrim to Bedek HaBayis after the Beis HaMikdash was already built, if it's a davar she'eino mesuyim. But the problem is, what does it say in the brisa? It says, Ein mekabelin mehen hektish u'nedavar lebedek HaBayis. It says we don't accept hektish and nedavar for Bedek HaBayis. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, there is a situation where you would accept donations from a Nachri from Bedek HaBayis. So the Gemara answers, Pasar la bein betchila bein basof uvilvad davar mesuyim. You'll have to answer this brisa. It's only talking about a davar mesuyim. Davar mesuyim is something we would never accept from a nachri, whether it's at the beginning of the building of the Beis HaMikdash or whether it's after the Beis HaMikdash has already been built. Now the Gemara asks on Rav Shimon Lakish. Rav Shimon Lakish Amar bein betchilu bein basof in mekabelin mehem davar mesuyim v'chulu. Again, Reish Lakish held you never accept anything for Bedek HaBayis from a nachri. So the Gemara says, Masnisin pligi Rav Shimon Lakish. The following Mishnah in Erchin seems to argue on Rav Shimon Lakish. The Tani, because it says, Hakol shavin shein nodrin v'nidarin. It says everybody agrees non-Jews are allowed to donate through a neder, and nidarin, we'll see what nidarin means in a minute. But the Gemara first answers, Pasar la ola. So let's say you're right, that Mishnah is not talking about a donation to Bedek HaBayis. It's saying that a non-Jew can make a neder, can donate a carbon ola, which of course we know they can do. So the Gemara says, Nicha nodrin. Well, that explains the word nodrin. Nodrin can mean you make a neder to donate an ola. Sorry, nodrin ola. Nodrin ola is something that makes sense. But nidarin ola, does it make any sense to say that a nidar means that the nachri himself? So usually when you do a nidar, you're saying you're donating your own value, something like an erech. That doesn't make sense to be a carbon ola. So the Gemara instead answers, and the Gra over here has a different girsa, hachi garsinon, kisha'amar nachri harei olai ola. The case over here is, by nidarin, the case in this Mishnah is, the nachri said, I want to donate an ola, v'shama Yisrael, and then the Yisrael heard, v'hainu nidarin sha'al yedei hanachrim nidar. The Yisrael heard what the nachri said, and the Yisrael said, I'm going to donate that as well. So Ela Kisha'amar Yisrael Harei Olai Ola V'shama Nachri V'amar Ma Shamar Ze Olai. Again, the Gra is reversing it. The Nachri is the one that first said, I want to donate an Ola. The Yisrael heard the Nachri say that, and then the Yisrael said, what that guy said, I would like to donate. So that's Nidarin. The idea is that through what the Nachri said, a donation was made. The Yisrael heard what the Nachri was donating, the carbon ola, and the Yisrael said, what this person said, I want to donate as well. The point is, it's all talking about donations of a carbon ola by the Nachri. It's not talking about anything for Bedek HaBayis. But the Gemara still asks on Reish Lakish, Ve'eno mevi imo nesachim, don't you have to bring with it nesachim? Now again over here, the Gra adds some words. Hachi garsinan lo hevi imo nesachim. Let's say a non-Jew donates a carbon ola, and he doesn't bring the nesachim that usually go with it. Ve'hevi achakach, and he brings it afterwards. Mekavlan heimenu, certainly we would accept the nesachim. Velolikli shares inon moser nesachim, but there's a halacha that if you bring a donation for nesachim, if there's anything extra, it goes towards kli shares, which is a kind of bedek habayis. Nimtza mevi davar she'eino mesuyim. That's basically a davar she'eino mesuyim. In other words, you're bringing something as nesachim, and then a little bit of the extra funds, a little bit of the extra value goes towards kli shares, goes towards bedek habayis. So again, moser nesachim lo lekli shares, ino nimtza mevi davar mesuyim. So it comes out that you're bringing even a davar. Now really the Gra has davar she'eino mesuyim. It comes out they're donating a davar she'eino mesuyim, and that's a kash Reish Lakish who says you can never have any donations whether it's mesuyim or eino mesuyim. And so the Gemara is going to answer this question with another question. In other words, we're going to ask a question that applies to Rabbi Yochanan also, give an answer, and that answer is going to apply for this as well to answer for Reish Lakish. So Heisiv Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Bon. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Bon asks the following question. V'ataninan, but we learned in another Mishnah as follows. Ne'erochin v'orchin. It says that non-Jews, they can also do erchin, meaning they can say, Eirech Olai, I want to give my value to the Beis HaMikdash. So lo lebedek habayis inun, doesn't that go to bedek habayis? According to this position in the Mishnah, isn't it true that it's saying that a non-Jew is allowed to donate their value, their erech to the Beis HaMikdash, and that's even for davar mesuyim, that's for regular normal bedek habayis? That's a question on Rabbi Yochanan as well. So the Gemara says, Hey, ma da'at amar. So what are you going to answer for that Mishnah? Tamon lashamayim hu miskavin. The answer has to be that the non-Jew isn't having in mind in that case to make a donation to bedek habayis to build in the Beis HaMikdash. It just happens to be we end up using that money for bedek habayis. So the same thing over here. Keinat amar afacha. That's what you could say over here as well. Lashamayim hu miskavin. In this original case, where we're talking about moser nesachim, the non-Jew has in mind Lashamayim, and again, it just memela, it goes to Bedek Habayis. That's not going to be a problem according to Rabbi Yochanan or Reish Lakish, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Dalid Amud Beis.